Tyron Woodley, the former champ, taking on Colby Covington. We're going to get into that in just a sec. But first, quick shout out to the sponsors of the greatest t-shirts ever made, True Classic Tees. Guys, you want to look good, feel good, save money, and help people, go to trueclassictees.com/contentcube. Link is in the description. Cube15 at checkout saves you 15%. You're going to thank us, and we're going to thank you for supporting the show. Anyway, Mike, this fight is like 2.5 years too late, right? Like, at this point, Tyron Woodley has looked like a shell of himself, getting absolutely decimated by, in fairness, two of the best guys in the world. But he's not taking a step down in competition here, right? Colby, for all he is that good as well. How do you think this fight goes on Saturday night?
Loaded question. Honestly, I'm, as you can tell, a black man. And a lot of this does fall along, racial lines, political lines, partisanship, all that stuff. But at the end of the day, the name of this show is That's Fighting. And that's what we talk about, fighting. And who I think is going to win? Colby Covington. If I had to go and look at how Tyron Woodley has fared against opponents in the past, he's fared well against guys who are either strikers who had to deal with his wrestling, or wrestlers and use that 90% takedown defense and keep the fight standing and deal with these dudes who probably couldn't strike as well as he did. Either they struck at the same speed, but he had more power, or vice versa. It doesn't matter. Now, we look at who he's actually, had some struggles against. Pressure, persistence, and just an onslaught of just nonstop action. Like, when you have a guy like Colby Covington, where the wrestling is probably going to be moot, but the pressure won't be, and the cardio won't be, and you go and look at someone like Kamaru Usman, who also beat Tyron Woodley for the championship, those are two different types of fights that we're going to see here. I think we're going to see a lot of like that Colby Covington pressure, nonstop, in your face, pop, 60% shots. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, whereas someone like Usman's going to start engaging and grappling and just hold you down and beat you down and do what he has to do. The difference is, again, that hybrid of striking and wrestling, when they can do both, it gives Tyron some real issues. So I have my questions about Tyron's ability to get back on that level. He said he had the killer instinct when he went and trained in Thailand. Didn't really see it too much against Gilbert Burns, but we'll see against Colby. But I got Colby in this one on his way back to a Usman rematch.
Yeah, I have to agree with you wholeheartedly on every front, right? Like, as much as you want to see Tyron Woodley, who, by the way, has refused to accept the pressures of you're fighting for, the BLM movement and stuff against this guy who's, a Trump supporter and all this, he says, no, I'm going out there and fighting for me. I don't want that additional pressure.
Right.
I don't think that this Tyron Woodley is the same Tyron Woodley that there once was. I don't think, he's the same guy as he was 2.5 years ago. And I think he really struggles with, at least as we've seen in the last two fights, people who absolutely pressure him and can pepper him up. And I think that's what Colby is. And even if he has the additional motivation of hating him and wanting to knock him out and embarrass him and humiliate him, I think he's just going to grow frustrated as the fight wears on, when Colby is absolutely smothering him and ripping him to the body. And I don't even think Colby's going to get taken down. And if he does, I'm sure he can scramble out of it, because Tyron, with how he's done in his past few fights and as physically good as he looks, I don't think he has the same faith in his cardio after he got his ass whooped and just cardio dominated by the champ. And Colby has that same kind of cardio. So I don't think Tyron's going to risk emptying his gas tank trying to wrestle. And in a striking match, while I do think Tyron has the clear power advantage, and okay, maybe he's got a puncher's chance with an overhand right, I don't think that, stylistically he can keep up with Colby's volume. And I don't think he can really offer anything else to kind of change the game.
Yeah, no, I mean, Colby Covington is going to be in his face, but it's not going to be idle. It's not going to be crotch sniffing, as Jorge Masvidal calls it. It's going to be chain wrestling to lead up to dirty boxing, to lead into some pop shots from outside. We saw how much of a war that was against Usman between Colby and himself. And that's because they both have cardio. They both got wrestling. They both can strike. They both put that game together where it was a perfect stylistic matchup against one another. Tyron, like you said, I don't think he has as much faith in that cardio as he used to, and we saw Tyron Woodley in some wars against Robbie Lawler, wars against Carlos Condit, and these types of fights, they take so much out of you. They leave
Well, to
parts
be
of
fair, it
themselves in the
wasn't much of a
cage.
war against Robbie, right? He knocked out Robbie in like 2 minutes. But previous, like, right, that's when he won the strap.
Right.
But previous to that, yeah, all the fights that he's been in, he kind of has that one thing going for him, which is his ability to explode, and then knock the dude out. And I guess he could kind of, if he can channel that fighting backwards but explode forward mentality that he used to have. I not to take away from your point, I think you're right. I think a lot of the fights that he's had has taken a lot out of him, right? Like when he got knocked out against the side of the cage by Nate Marquardt, and then getting dominated in his last 2 fights. I think that's been the most taxing on him, if not physically, then mentally, because he's like, damn, maybe I'm not good enough to hang with these dudes anymore.
100%. Like even against someone like a Robbie Lawler, where that killer instinct is coming in. This guy, Robbie Lawler, ain't coming in here pressuring you like that. There's a reason when you're just standing around, you're flat-footed, and you're ready to start throwing bombs to see who gets knocked out first. We've seen it happen before. You eat shots, you take shots, you send shots, and someone goes down. That's UFC of the past. Like this is very much a mixed martial arts bout. And we're going to see Colby Covington put that pressure together. And, the power and the patience has to be employed by Tyron. But I just never like a guy. I never like any fighter whose striking technique is back up to the cage and circle out or press for a power double. That's not the answer. Yeah. It's an archaic fighting style that's just not going to work anymore. You can't just be more athletic than your opponent anymore in MMA.
Absolutely. And so I guess predictions will both go Colby.
Yeah, I got Colby Covington. I don't think it's going to be a finish. Tyron Woodley is the type of guy to just, go all the way to the end, like, and not quite just give up as in I just finish me, but he's the kind of guy who gets that exasperated face and it's just over. So
yeah, and same with Colby, right? Not much of a finisher, but can outlast you over 5 rounds and really put that pressure on you. I agree. Yeah, Colby via dominant decision, and that's kind of it for Tyron, right? Start fighting down the rankings.
That's it.
That's going to do it for That's Fighting for today's episode. Be sure to check out our next episode where we're going to break down the style bender card. Mr. Israel Adesanya taking on Paulo Costa, and the fight between Jan Blachowicz and Dominic Reyes for the vacant light heavyweight strap. That one's coming out next week.